Like to call to order the regular evening council meeting for Monday, May 15th, 2023. This meeting is being recorded live and is streaming on the District of Summerland YouTube channel. All representations to council, written or verbal, will form part of the public record and be available to the public for viewing electronically or as a written record. Corporate officer, any late items? No late items. If I could get an approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Peak, all in favor? That carries. Consent agenda. Would anybody like to remove anything from the consent agenda? None? Okay, so if I could get a motion to approve the consent agenda. Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Betts, all in favor? And that carries. No bylaws from public hearing. Go straight into my report. You will all notice that our council chambers have been redecorated. The paintings on the two side walls here are from the collection of the Summerland Museum and Archive Society, who have kindly agreed to curate this space and will change the exhibit every once in a while. The first display we have here is features locally made art, all with an agricultural theme. They are from the collection of Doreen Tate, who was born in Summerland in 1921 to pioneers Magnus and Alice Tate. Doreen lived her whole life on the Tate family's Trout Creek property, and she bequeathed her substantial art collection to the museum upon her death in 2006. There are also museum pieces being featured in the display case in the lobby, downstairs in the lobby of Municipal Hall. The costumes and artwork from our sister Toya Koro that had previously been adorning the chamber are now in the good hands of the museum for safekeeping and for display. Except for the traditional Japanese firefighters uniform that used to be over by the entrance there, it's now or is going on to display at the fire hall. Thought that was an appropriate place for it. So. 3 weeks ago, from April 25th to April 28th, Councillor Peak and I attended the annual convention of the Southern Interior Local Government Association, which this year was held in Vernon. I'm pleased to report the convention delegates endorsed our resolution to ask the Union of BC Municipalities to work with the provincial government to address the problem of grant programs not being adequately resourced. The resolution will now go to the UBCM convention in September. Another resolution of interest to Summerland was put forward by the RDS also passed. It was to ask the Ministry of Health to provide funding for the expansion of primary care networks outside the constraints of interior health in accordance to local and regional needs. Speaking of interior health, on May 1st, CAO Stat and I met with Madeline Silla-Gawang, the new Executive Director of Clinical Operations for the South Okanagan. She's taking over the position previously held by Carl Meadows. We spoke about our efforts to build a team-based primary care clinic here in Summerland, as well as the hours of operation at the Summerland Health Lab, the Health Center Lab, amidst Interior Health's ongoing staffing challenges. On May 3rd, CAO Stat and I attended an RCMP workshop in Kelowna held for mayors and CAOs in the Southern Interior. We were given an overview of all things RCMP, from officer recruitment to homicides investigation and everything in between. One topic of interest was the rollout of body-worn cameras on all RCMP officers, which will start to be deployed in BC next year. We were also given an update on the federally mandated rollout of Next Generation 911 or NG 911 over the next couple of years. It will replace the current Enhanced 911 system or E911. And these changes, the 911 platform over from phone lines to computers and will enable real-time video and text. On May 4th, Councillor Van Elfen and I attended the regular RDOS meetings where we heard a delegation from representing the South Okanagan and Smilkening search and rescue teams. Both the Penticton and the Oliver Osoyoos teams are celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. Summerland is covered by the Penticton Search and Rescue, and they have 35 operational volunteers and 4 support members, and they respond to an average of 61 calls per year. It probably shouldn't come as a surprise that the demand for search and rescue is increasing while their funding from government is decreasing, and increasingly the regional district is being looked upon to bridge that funding gap. On May 5th, I attended a workshop organized by the Okanagan Nation Alliance and the Okanagan Collaborative Conservation Program regarding something called the Okanagan Lake Responsibility Planning Initiative. This initiative is seeking to bring together Silex and local government leaders to focus on fresh water and jointly implement priority actions. The idea is to build on the strong foundation of Silex Okanagan knowledge, including the Silex Water Declaration, while also gaining insights from municipal leaders and water champions like the Okanagan Basin Water Board. And I think it's important to stress that it's being driven and led by the Okanagan Nation Alliance. With the idea is that with Silex and local government leaders speaking with a unified voice, it's hoped the process will drive policy and legislative reform at the provincial and federal levels. On May 7th, I joined Legion members and local Royal Watchers at the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 22 for an afternoon tea to commemorate the coronation of King Charles III. The celebration was organized by Chef Andy, who's from Yorkshire, and he probably knows better than anyone in Summerland how to prepare a proper English tea. Each table had the traditional 3-tier food stand with tea sandwiches on the bottom, scones with clotted cream and jam in the middle, and sweets like eclairs and chocolate-coated strawberries on the top. It was absolutely delicious, and I can honestly say it's the best coronation event I've ever attended. On May 12th, all members of council, including together with MLA Dan Ashton, took a study tour of the following municipal facilities: the water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant, the works yard, fire department training grounds, fire station, RCMP station, the arena and curling rink, the aquatic center, and the solar project construction site. We visited all these locations in the same day. Besides deepening our understanding of the district's day-to-day operations, the site visit showed us how fortunate Summerland is to have such skilled and dedicated municipal employees working to keep the town ticking day in and day out. Finally, I went into the rec department last week and registered for the Giants Head Run. Apparently, I'm supposed to challenge the rest of council to compete in the race. However, I will frame it as an invitation to join me to bring up the rear. The run is on June 3rd over the Action Fest weekend, and be sure to register by the early bird deadline of May 28th to be guaranteed a race t-shirt. Councillor Van Elfen.
Is that a Saturday?
It is.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm working at the farmer's market.
I don't think this starts late. I think it starts after the farmer's market closes. Sia, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No report today, although I will say a deep and sincere thank you to council for allocating the time to do that tour that you referenced. It meant a lot to staff to be able to talk about their work with council.
Okay. Public comment period, 15 minutes we have for this. If anybody's would like to speak, just, any agenda item, just come up, unless it's a development report. Or then we'll move on to the development reports. Developments variance permits at 5617 Simpson Road And I'll turn this over to our planning technician, Shannon Toohey.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The district has received an application for variance at 5617 Simpson Road. And this is in order to erect a 2.3 metre high entry gate to the property. I'm wondering what is on. In the OCP, the future land use designation of this subject property is agricultural and is zoned A1 small agricultural. The vast majority of Simpson Road is agricultural corridor of farmland, horse stables and a new winery. The applicant is requesting to vary the maximum height of a fence from 1.8 metres to 2.3 metres or 7 foot 7 inches. The word fence is being used as the zoning bylaw does not distinguish between an entry gate and a fence. They are one. The official community plan supports residential uses for the needs of farmers, maintain non-farming uses within the farm home plate, and encourage high capability lands for farming to aid food production, food security, and for the agricultural community as a whole. Section 5.5.6 of the zoning bylaw states that no fence should exceed 1.8 metres in height, other than a wildlife fence, which can reach up to the height of 2.4 maximum. The property at 5617 Simpson Road is a working agricultural property that meets all other regulations of its zoning. As you can see from the zoning analysis table here, the applicant is allowed a wildlife fence constructed of mesh wire of 2.4 metres. But as this gate is not deemed a wildlife fence, it is only allowed a height of 1.8 metres. The application was circulated to all of our internal departments with no comments or concerns received back. And to date, none of our external agencies listed here have submitted a response to the application. Under the new development variance delegated process, zoning bylaw requirements with respect to retaining walls and fences found in section 5.5 fences and retaining walls, applicants are categorised as a type 2 minor variance. In accordance with our Local Government Act and district bylaws, owners and tenants of all properties within 60 metres of the subject property of 5617 Simpson Road, Summerland, were notified of the proposed variance. 2 objection correspondence from the same address were received to the proposed variance. Given that the correspondence was negative, this development variance permit application has been provided to Council for decision as per the district's new procedures for minor variances. A list of in favour correspondence letters have also been received for this variance, which have been included in Council's information pack. This property is zoned A1 agricultural. Thus, the property can have a 2.4 metre fence, as long as it is metal mesh wildlife fence without of a variance. The location of the gate will be 6 metres from the road edge on Simpson Road, causing no obstructions. The gate is more robust and longer lasting than a mesh with wildlife fence, and it gives extra security to the property owners who have small children and animals. The following image is a standard 2.4 wildlife fence, as you can see all around Summerland. And the following 2 slides show the proposed gate. Cement columns on either side to support the gate itself, and a 2.3 metre high fence, which will be sustained of wood and a metal design, similar to the one here and here. As you can see from this site plan, there is a large 4-metre buffer from the edge of the road to the property line itself. And a further 2-metre back from this property line is the gate location, giving you a 6-metre edge from the busy road of Simpson. In conclusion, staff recommend that the variance for this gate be approved by council this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the correspondence is in our agenda package. Would the applicant like to say anything? It's up to you. You don't have to. No? Okay. Council, any questions? Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm going to have recourse to a couple of things that were covered in the report, but also some of the correspondence that was sent in. So it was circulated within our in-house services, and there were no concerns about traffic patterns or the curve on the road or anything like that.
To Councillor Peak through the Mayor. Yes, so it's circulated as with all of our applications to our internal departments. And like all of them, they have 15 days to reply. And I received no correspondence from our other departments.
Okay.
Nothing. And also with our external departments, and they were listed with the agricultural ministry, everything. Yeah.
That clarifies something for me. There was a question, and I will ask it because I'm not clear exactly what the question means, but would the gate do anything to deter from the use of the ALR or hinder farm properties around the area?
Not that I'm aware of. It's basically to be able to close the property for security. As I said, they have small children and a few dogs, and it can be a busy road. There is a new winery opening across the road, so it's going to have increased traffic as well. So that was the purpose of the gate itself.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the answer to those questions. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wouldn't have a problem bringing the staff recommendation forward for the fact is there's lots of properties in the ALR in our community that have, very robust decorative entrance gates. I know a lot of people that have, agricultural property with a power gate. It's all about security, and keeping your stuff in and other people's out, which I can respect that. So I would gladly bring the staff recommendation forward.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Peak. Any further discussion or call? No, I'll call Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In considering this one, I've been really considering kind of the intention of the bylaw. Not just blocking out your neighbors and kind of having consistency, but because this is further away from neighbors and not in a strictly urban environment like a neighborhood downtown, I don't really see a problem with it. I do, however, think it'd be possibly better not to be electrified, but that's up to the resident. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Your Worship. I'd like to ask staff about the letter we have received concerning non-compliant business activities on the property, and has that been dealt with? And is this an opportunity to deal with the problems, or are those problems not real problems?
To Councillor Backwell through the Mayor. Yes, when we do receive these negative objections to it, I've obviously got to look into that. So the applicants do have a business license, and they have held it for a few years. It's a construction company, and it is a type 3 home-based business, which allows them to have a certain amount of area that they can operate on in an accessory building. They do have a building that they use where he has these tools and such like that he's made me aware of. And he does have a few trucks that comes in and out that he owns, that he uses for when he goes out. As far as we were concerned and bylaw was concerned, there was no issues, and they hold all the requirements.
Councillor Van Elfen? Sorry, did you have a follow-up, Councillor Barkle?
Well, I just wanted to say that I think sort of along the lines of Councillor Betts, the larger properties, larger gates kind of fit the scheme of things. In the urban setting, they would be out of place. So maybe our bylaws needs to be fine-tuned a little bit because they are very common on the acreages.
Councillor Van Elfen.
Just for clarity's sake, when I said electrified, I meant electrified as opening, not as in zap. So I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. Always good to be clear about these things. Any other discussion? Councillor Peak.
In the instance of where this property is and the varying uses in the area too, a safety measure to have make sure your children are in the gate and that if you have dogs and that, they're not running out on the road, just makes good common sense. And I think it's going to be an attractive addition. There's definitely area to turn in on and a gate that you can open up as you approach. You'll be in the yard before you know it.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed, that carries. Item 9.2, license of occupation, the Rotary Club for the Sunday Market, corporate officer.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, may I recuse myself from this discussion as I am a participant in that market?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Holmes. So before council is a license of occupation for the Sunday Rotary Market. This event will take place in the same location as it has in previous years on Main Street and begin the last Sunday in June until the last Sunday in September and is open from the public from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Additionally, the proposed license of occupation allows the license to be renewed for the 2024 and 2025 market season should the group request no changes. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
So essentially, this is coming to us because Rotary hadn't been the organizer for.
It's a yearly license of occupation, and we just don't have the proper, or sorry, to the mayor, we just don't have the proper delegation for staff to approve the license.
Oh, okay. So it's not like the road closures where we approve it once and we don't have to prove it again. Okay.
Which is why we put the extension in just until we can update maybe our delegation of authority and have that conversation with council. This is just to avoid it coming back for future years, unless there's changes to the mapping or something substantial,
Right.
then obviously it would.
No. Okay, Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, my question was just that with the extension, was it based on anything in particular? With that explanation, I have no difficulty. We're very lucky to have the Rotary Club doing this, and we have a fine manager, and I think it's very well run and well received.
Thank you. Councillor Trainer?
I can bring forward the motion or the resolution.
Sure. The staff recommendation.
Yep, the
that's
staff
on the screen.
recommendation to allow this through for the next 2 years. That's
Okay.
correct. Okay.
Second, Councillor Barkwell. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. Could we bring Councillor Van Elfen back? Oh, it's optional. You could introduce a motion. License of occupation for the Dale Meadows Sports Complex concession, corporate officer.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. So the District of Summerland has historically granted a license of occupation agreement to allow an operator to operate the concession at Dale Meadows Park. The district has been unable to secure an operator for the concession since the 2019 season. This opportunity was promoted through the District of Summerland website under the Parks and Recreation vending opportunities. Staff have also approached user groups to see if they would be interested in taking on the operation of the concession, but the opportunity failed to generate any interest. One application was received earlier this year. However, they withdrew their application due to health reasons. So Shay McDonald submitted an application for this opportunity on April 28th. The applicant primarily intends to operate the concession during tournaments with potentially some hours during regular bookings. The applicant indicated he expects to vend approximately 16 days throughout the season and indicated that is not typically busy enough during the regular programming to make it worthwhile to operate the concession. Therefore, the proposed license fee is $800 plus GST for the 2023 season, and the license fee would be renegotiated with staff for any optional renewal years. And so staff is proposing the license of occupation for the 2023 season with the option to extend the license for 2 additional years.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Councillor Peak?
I mean, note of the fact, is this a fair amount for the times that this, it would be open?
Mayor to Councillor Peak. So yes, Lori, Dana and I did sit down and look at what we charge for other license of occupations. And because the applicant is going to be open limited hours, we did feel that it was fair.
Yep. Councillor Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking at the lease that you have, that's on the table with Shay McDonald, it seems like a reasonable amount for the number of days, just as feedback as a previous vendor. So it seemed reasonable, and I think it's a great idea.
Good. Councillor Trainer?
I'll bring forward the staff recommendation.
Okay, second, Councillor Peak. Any further discussion? No. Councillor Peak?
Just a comment. Myrtle, who did this for years, did an excellent job. She was really up in age when she quit doing it. So it's very nice to have a family member who really understands what the benefits and what the problems are. So I think it'll be a really good partnership. Pleased to have it happen.
Yeah, it's always good. Grandparents helping out. Right, Councillor Trainer? I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries, not opposed. Rotary Beach Provincial Tenure Corporate Officer.
Thank you again, Mayor Holmes. So the District of Summerland's head lease over the foreshore along Okanagan Lake expired in July 1st, 2008. In 2018, the district submitted 2 applications to acquire tenures over Crown land along Okanagan Lake for Rotary Beach and Peach Orchard Beach for the purposes of operating a community park and public recreation. So the province has come back and indicated that the application for the tenure over Rotary Beach is in the final stage and requires a council resolution to be passed in order to acquire the land. So before council is that resolution to move forward.
Acquire the land by, you mean lease the land?
Yeah.
Any questions? Yeah. Councillor Van Elfen?
Bring the staff recommendation forward, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, second. Councillor Betts. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. And finally, the Action Fest Special Events Permit, Corporate Officer.
And just for the last one, so thank you, Mayor Holmes. So the Action Fest Festival is scheduled to be held in Memorial Park from June 2nd to June 4th. The event organizers have applied to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch for a special events permit to provide beverage gardens for the event. The LCRB requires applicants of special events permits that applicants of the special events permits must obtain written permission from local government, from the local governing authority for the permit if the event is planned to be held on land or premises owned by a municipal government. As part of the application for the permit, the event organizer is required to submit a site plan and security plan, and the area that the liquor will be served must be surrounded by a barrier that will limit the sale, service, and consumption of liquor to that area. So the event organizers have stated that the security will be provided pursuant to the LCRB regulations and that 2 security guards will be located at the entrance to check the identification of visitors, and that the security guards will be patrolling the gardens throughout the duration of the event. So the beverage gardens will be open and providing services for the following times: Friday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And so before council is a resolution to support Action Fest application to the LCRB. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions again.
Okay, so if you have an early version of the agenda, you might have it, just refresh your your screens, it'll be there. Any questions from anybody? Councillor Van Elfen?
I'm sorry if I missed it. Is this a local Kinsman Club that is making the application? Sorry.
Says in the report it's the Action Fest
Thank you.
committee, but
Says organization.
oh, it is.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, well done. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's the Kinsman. Councillor Trent?
These are the same hours as previous Action Fest. I think so.
Through the mayor to council trainer, yes, the only, actually, there's two small differences. So Friday, it was from, like last year it was 6 and now it's 5. And then Saturday was 10 last year and now it's 10:30.
Okay. I'll bring it forward if anybody, unless anybody has questions. Okay.
Okay. Councillor Trainer, Councillor Peak, second. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed, that carries. Moving on to item 10, no bylaws for adoption, no business arising. Any notices of motion? No notices of motion. Councillor reports. Anybody have a report? Councillor Van Elfen?
Just to be 100% honest, as I always am, through to our CEO, as much as I did not want to attend Friday because I've got other pressing farm things that I need to be doing this time of year, I was overly impressed. I was expecting nothing different, but the passion from some of our staff, your staff members, I was pretty amazed. Just the enthusiasm and the pride that some of these people are taking their facilities they work in. I was really impressed. So I thought the tour was really well done. And thank you to the organizers.
Thank you. Councillor Barkwell?
I too was having to balance competing priorities for this tour, but I'm really glad I did it. I found the flaming car quite impressive. And I learned most important thing I learned though was with the sewage treatment plant and our needs for capacity in growth, and of course the repair, the end of the life cycle for some of the components. So I guess they're working on it hard. Hopefully they're working on it hard and fast with the lead times that are required these days, and it all works out for us because it's really come along a long ways in the time that I've been on council, from going from nothing to worry about, like now we got to really have a plan.
Councillor Peak?
Thank you, Your Worship. I too want to express my great appreciation to staff for a very comprehensive tour. And I'd love to meet the new staff. We've got lots of great young new staff, and I was so pleased to see Matt still in the sewage area. He has lots of experience, and he was the one that spotted the turbidity last year. I mean, the fact that we have people that do the work they do and care about it is so important. As Councillor Barkwell said, there's things that you learn when you go out and talk. And yes, that facility for the sewage treatment is 25 years old. All parts of it will need replacing, and we don't have the proper redundancy. So this is going to be, it's going to be a big hit in terms of money. And as was mentioned during the discussion, but we know this as well, is that sometimes renewal of infrastructure doesn't get the grants the way new things do. So that just makes it all harder to cover the work off that needs to be done when you're running a business like a municipality. I also would like to thank the council for the opportunity to go to Silga. I thought it was a very well run conference, some great topics covered, and it was nice to see new councillors. There's a lot of councillors that were there from the time I was on council before, but I did appreciate the opportunity to be there. One of the things that I heard while I was there is that Kelowna is using an AI system. They got $350,000 to do an incorporation of AI in the delivery of planning and the applications that come to them. And what I understood from an interview, I heard that part of the opportunity of them having this money to do it is that they would be able to roll it out to other municipalities once it's up and going without cost. So maybe that's something we could double check on. And we do have contacts in that area, so we could possibly do that. Because they were talking about the fact that a lot of the questions that come to a planning section around any application are pretty redundant, and staff spend a lot of time, and AI can actually answer those questions. So when it comes to staff, you're using the specialty skills and not just the base knowledge. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It'd be interesting to find out how it works. Thank you very much, Marissa.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, then I'll public comment period. Nobody online. Nobody in the gallery. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Trainer, Councillor Van Elfen, all in favor, and that carries. Thank you very much.